Hello, everyone, and thanks for hanging out with us for the Behind the Numbers Weekly Listen, an eMarketer podcast made possible by VTEX. This is the Friday show that reviews the most, why didn't you tell me, media news stories of the week. I'm your host, Marcus Johnson. In today's show, Google delays getting rid of cookies.
A lot of people have been doing the kind of preparation that's going to be necessary in a post-cookie environment anyway, and so those people are the ones who are, building the next iteration of whatever the digital ad ecosystem will look like.
Audio on Facebook.
I feel like they've tried and failed to get people to make original video for its platform, so I don't see why they think audio would be successful.
TikTok jumps.
I am concerned about the way that these interactive features might actually break the flow of the algorithm scroll, which is like what TikTok is relying on.
Google's EU ad tech antitrust case. Movie-going returns. And what if time didn't exist? I should actually explain up front. I'm on a bit of a high. England won earlier this week, 2-0 against Germany. I'm so happy. Nothing else matters. I don't care what else happens in my life. I'm so happy. Okay. Let's see how this goes.
That's the end of the podcast.
That's the end. Why even carry on? Joining me for this episode, we have three people. Let's introduce them. We start with our senior analyst covering consumer attitudes towards advertising. It's Audrey Schomer.
Hi, Marcus.
Hello there, Audrey. We're also joined by Nina Getson, who is our analyst on the briefings team.
Hi, everyone.
Hello there. And finally, we have our senior analyst on the connectivity and tech team. It's Sarah M. Watson.
Hi, everybody.
Hello to you too. So, 4 segments for you folks. We start with the story of the week, Google delaying getting rid of cookies. We then move to the game of the week, our second segment, where our contestants, Audrey, Nina, and Sarah, go head to head, giving us the best takeaway they can from each of the 4 stories in an effort to win the championship belt. We then move to the questions answered segment, where we answer the questions that you've emailed into us. And finally, dinner party day, so we talk about stuff which means nothing, but is quite entertaining. So, let's start with the story of the week. Google delaying getting rid of cookies. Google is delaying its plan to block third-party cookies from its Chrome internet browser. Cookies being those small bits of code stored in web browsers that track users' internet activity and let digital publishers target advertising. Let's get the important stuff out of the way first. Where does the name cookie come from? So there are a few theories. This is how I spent my day. So it was coined from the term magic cookies, derived from a fortune cookie, or a cookie with an embedded message. Web browser programmer Lou Montulli has been credited with coining the term, used by Unix programmers. Others think that the name originates from the story of Hansel and Gretel, who were able to mark their trail through a dark forest by dropping cookie crumbs behind them. Wasn't it breadcrumbs?
Breadcrumbs.
It was, I think.
Who's wasting cookies? There goes that theory. Throw that one away. Must be the first one. Anyway, more importantly, when Google announced in January 2020 that it would eliminate third-party cookies, the deadline was planned for early 2022. But now, Google will begin phasing out cookies in mid-2023, finishing in late 2023. Vinay Goel, Google's Chrome browser privacy engineering director, said, quote, "It's become clear that time is needed across the ecosystem to get this right," close quote. So, folks, initial reactions to this push.
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, a lot of what you'll hear is that this was a huge sigh of relief for a lot of advertisers and publishers and other people in the industry, including ad tech, that have been reliant on third-party cookies to do things including tracking, but not limited to tracking. But the fact is that the industry has been frantically preparing for several months, and some for longer, building up first-party data sets. So for some people, it's likely that this is more or less, it might be a welcome delay, but for some people, I think that this was considered to be a sigh of relief. Lots of people in the industry, including advertisers, publishers, and ad tech vendors, have been preparing for the deprecation of third-party cookies in Chrome for several months. But I think for others, this is a bit of frustration since they have been doing all of this preparation. And it's a bit, I think, like getting a substitute teacher on the day of your big test. And instead, you're just sitting and watching a movie for the next year and a half instead of actually taking the test.
Yeah, that's exactly how most of my education played out. It does feel like they're kind of kicking the can down the road a bit here. However, as you mentioned, it seems like a lot of people initially are happy about it. 52% of marketers and publishers said in December of 2020 they would need more than a year to shift from third-party cookies to another identity solution. That was from Live Intent. Sarah Fisher of Axios writes, while some ad executives are lauding Google for taking the time to further evaluate cookie replacement proposals, others see it as a blow to the ad industry, which will remain in limbo for many more months, similar to Audrey was just saying. Which is it more of? How do you think people are going to lean?
I mean, if the market is any indication, ad tech stocks popped way up with the announcement. So that's one angle.
Yeah, kind of surprised. Also, Nicole Perrin, I spoke to her earlier. She's the host of the ad platform principal covering digital advertising here at eMarketer Insider Intelligence. She said she wasn't surprised, but she was more surprised with how long the delay was. Now concerned brands won't change anything for 2 years and privacy issues were just going to get worse between now and then. There's a few, I guess, reasons why they did this. One of them is that it was done in part to accommodate an evaluation by the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA. In January 2021, the CMA launched an investigation into Google's proposal to replace third-party cookies. Google has since made some quote-unquote commitments to the CMA, including promising to not give preference to its own systems and to give the CMA at least 2 months' notice before deprecating cookies. And then also some early tests on some of Google's privacy sandbox cookie alternatives have been delayed until later this year or early next. So it wouldn't have left much time for the CMA to approve changes and for developers to adopt new privacy tech. Daniel Carnahan had written a piece in mid-April predicting the future titled "Challenges to Google's Privacy Sandbox Initiative May Delay Cookie Deprecation." So maybe this was always going to happen. Maybe 2 years was too aggressive a goal for Google to think that they could get rid of cookies.
It's possible. I think that having spoken with some publishers earlier this year, many of them, they were preparing. They had strategies in place to be able to offer advertisers to target and reach their audiences using first-party data. And that's something that many of them intended and still intend to do. But I think that it's maybe more advertisers that are the ones that are more appreciative and ad tech players that rely on cookies to operate their businesses.
Yeah, it's also not just Google that's running these tests. There's also like the Trade Desk's Unified ID 2.0 and all these other players that now have more time to get more people on board and to test these alternatives out a little bit more. But on the flip side, I think some of the momentum that they've been seeing might be on pause for a bit.
Yeah. So I'm not a parent, but from every time I speak to a parent, I always say to them, "How prepared were you for little people to enter your life?" And they always say, "Well, you're never ready. You just do it and figure things out." And I guess, Sarah, I was thinking of the kind of GDPR, like a big sweeping change like that, and trying to think back to how that was rolled out. No one was ready for it, but they rolled it out. They gave people a grace period and kind of figured out the rest. But maybe it's unfair to compare the two.
No, I think that is a fair comparison. And I think, this is a industry shifting standard change, and standard changes are uncomfortable and they take time and they take process. And, some of the language that Google talked about in, its post announcing this delay was really about getting the entire web community, quote unquote, on board. And so a lot of it is about, not just kind of forcing Google's solution onto the ecosystem, but rather getting other players on board and other stakeholders on board. And I think that's going to be really important. In particular, I think, the thing for me in all of this is that this is really just about timing. The European Commission is also looking into whether, Google is favoring its own ad tech services. And, this is just one angle into that investigation. But, it's certainly part of the consideration that, yes, privacy improvements for consumers, but does that actually consolidate Google's power further? And I think this really gets into this very interesting fundamental tension in regulatory and enforcement questions about big tech right now, which is, how does privacy conflict and bump up against antitrust? And that's really at the heart of this delay, I think, is actually avoiding the kind of antitrust implications of this shift.
Yeah. Yeah, Google's rivals, Apple, Microsoft, Mozilla, they already ditched cookies, but all eyes are on Chrome, in part because they have 2/3 of the market, 2/3 market share worldwide, according to global stats. Google has delayed other privacy policy moves as well. James Hersher of AdExchanger was noting Google was expected to integrate with the IAB Europe's Transparency and Consent Framework, the industry's mechanism for conveying consent signals in the bid stream to comply with GDPR in 2018. That took an extra 2 years. So what do you think happens now? What happens in the short term? Google said it will soon release a more specific schedule for the Privacy Sandbox rollout. Sarah Fisher of Axios notes that Chrome and other industry players have currently offered more than 30 proposals for phasing out cookies. According to Google, 4 of those proposals are available in early trials. What happens in the short term, do you think? Do you think this privacy conversation goes away until it becomes an emergency again?
I mean, it's possible that some people might just take a break and sit on their heels a little bit. There's been people suggesting that there's a lot of inertia in ad tech to not change necessarily until they need to. But I think that a lot of people have been doing the kind of preparation that's going to be necessary in a post-cookie environment anyway. And so those people are the ones who are, building the next iteration of whatever the digital ad ecosystem will look like. And that is essentially going to require different infrastructure, and including things like building up first-party data sets on the brand side and on the publisher side, doing things like contextual targeting or cohort-based targeting. And things that are coming out of Privacy Sandbox are also going to be available eventually, but those conversations are going to continue to happen over the next year and a half in working groups. So we'll kind of see.
Yeah. Nicole was saying everyone she's spoken to agrees that brands will keep transacting on cookies until the day they can't anymore. So yeah, let's not expect folks to maybe try to get ahead of the curve in preparation, given a lot of extra time. Obviously, a lot of other priorities to focus on as well, not just this. So yeah, a little bit of how things are going to play out over the next year or two. In late 2022, after more Privacy Sandbox initiatives are further developed, Google will roll out its various cookieless ad methods and monitor industry uptake for 9 months from then. During the time, the CMA will conduct its own evaluation of the sandbox initiatives. And then in mid-2023, after testing its different sandbox initiatives and getting the CMA approval, Chrome will begin to phase out third-party cookies gradually over a 3-month stretch. All right, let's leave it there for now. It's time for the game of the week. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, VTEX. Retail's next competitive threat may come from a business model or channel that didn't even exist a few months ago. This modern dynamic requires companies to adapt quickly, pivoting business seemingly overnight, something traditional commerce platforms just can't support. There's a new enterprise commerce platform on the rise, one that's fast, flexible, and doesn't require 9 months and $1 million to get up and running. Go to vtex.com/emarketer to learn more. All right, folks, we are back. It's time now for the game of the week. Today's game, What's the Point? Part of the show where we read out 4 stories and have contestants Audrey, Nina, and Sarah tell us what they think is the main takeaway of the story. Okay answers will get you 1 point. Good answers aren't good enough for 2. And answers that give you that same feeling as when you realize that no one is going to be sitting next to you on the plane. You know, that row to yourself feeling? Yes, I will stretch out. Those will get you 3 points. Each person gets 20 seconds to answer before they hear this. It's a bell. Whoever has the most points after 4 rounds wins and gets the last word. Is there any better feeling in the world than when you realize that last person boards a plane and they walk past you and you're like, whew.
There is no better feeling, especially on a flight from Singapore that's like 24 hours. So I can attest.
That was a trick question. There is a better feeling. It's when England beats Germany 2-0. Yes! Yes! If you'd answered that right, you would have won the game. So close. Anyway, let's play the game. We start with Audrey, top left corner of the screen, audio on Facebook. We're talking live audio rooms and podcasts. Facebook's Clubhouse-like feature, Live Audio Rooms, is starting to roll out and will soon let users record and distribute conversations like podcasts. Live audio rooms will also soon be integrated into Messenger and even tied to groups, so people can create their own interest-based recordings or podcasts to be distributed likely on Facebook. Also, from late June, Facebook is going to be supporting podcasts across pages, notes The Verge. Insider intelligence analyst Marielle Soto-Reyes explains that podcasters will be able to link their show's RSS feed to Facebook, which will in turn generate a newsfeed post for all subsequent episode releases. Users can also access a new podcast tab and listen to podcasts through either a mini or full screen player. They can even listen while the screen is off. So Audrey, audio on Facebook, live audio rooms and podcasts, what's the point?
I guess at first blush, it seems like Facebook is taking a page from others, including Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces that have built out social audio features. But I think, the integration of podcasts is an interesting thing in the sense that, it potentially makes Facebook into a platform for podcast discovery and distribution. But I think, ultimately, I think this is another example of Facebook making efforts to have everything all on its platform, copy rivals and outdo them with the benefits of its scale. And I also think that Facebook, for those reasons, faces potentially bigger moderation hurdles in terms of the content, since some of this stuff is going to be live on the platform.
Sarah.
Yeah, to me, I am skeptical of users going to Facebook for audio. I think that's going to be a little bit of a hurdle when there are other platforms doing better things with audio. And, the network effects aren't necessarily going to be top of mind here because they're really focused on influencer content.
Nina.
Yeah, to me, the social audio part of it makes a lot more sense. They can fix the things that were wrong with Clubhouse, like discovery. They can push it to their huge audience. The podcast thing to me is very weird. It doesn't really make sense to me with what Facebook does. I feel like they've tried and failed to get people to make original video for its platform. So I don't see why they think audio would be successful.
I thought it was interesting to note the no audience limit on Facebook's live audio rooms feature, unlike Clubhouse, which does have a cap. Move to our second story. Let's start with Sarah. TikTok jumps. Mitchell Clark of The Verge notes that, quote, TikTok is announcing a new feature that will let users embed mini apps called jumps into their videos. So if someone is making a cooking video, they could embed a link to the recipe app Whisk, which would allow viewers to pull up a recipe sheet inside of TikTok with the tap of a button, close quote. Sarah, TikTok jumps. What's the point?
Yeah, so I think this is super interesting from a conversion opportunity, but I am concerned about the way that these interactive features might actually break the flow of the algorithm scroll, which is what TikTok is relying on. And that could actually eat into time spent numbers. TikTok is actually at the top for US social network users at 37 minutes right now, and everyone's pretty far behind on that. So this potentially breaks the flow.
Nina.
Actually, I don't think so. I think for me, this kind of plays into a user behavior that already exists, right? People already post recipes just in the description of videos. So I actually think that just by making it easier to do, they have the potential to keep people on the site for longer. You're going to have to go back to TikTok to pull up the recipe. I really like this feature. I think it has the chance to get people to stay on the site longer, actually.
Audrey.
Yeah, I suppose that I agree with both. For some people, I think that they love TikTok just because it's a place where they can sort of passively watch videos for hours on end without needing to interact more directly. But I think for others, maybe they're looking for a place to interact more interactively with creators, with their content. And I think, to Sarah's point, I think I agree that there's ways in which this helps to drive sort of lower funnel conversion opportunities, including commerce, and improves some of that direct response stuff.
Yeah, insider intelligence analyst Daniel Carnahan was noting, quote, the partnership is like Snapchat's Minis, which itself was inspired by WeChat's mini app ecosystem in China. WeChat reportedly supports 1 million third-party partnerships on its platform and $250 billion, $250 billion in annual transactions, close quote. All right, we move to our third story. Let's start with Nina. Google's EU AdTech antitrust case, which Sarah had referenced in the story of the week. The BBC reports that, quote, the European Commission has opened an investigation into whether Google is dominating the online advertising market at the expense of its rivals, examining Google's role in collecting data, selling ad space, and acting as an online ad intermediary. Close quote. Bloomberg reports it's the first time the EU has investigated Google's online display ad business. Is Google unfairly limiting access to user data to its competitors? Are they favoring their own ad exchanges? This investigation hopes to find those things out, as well as much, much more. Nina, Google's EU ad tech antitrust case, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the US has a similar investigation going on, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like hard to keep track of all of these antitrust cases. Google alone has like 4 against it, like just in the EU right now. Do I think this investigation will turn up with anything? I do. Honestly, I think that they're probably right. It owns a bit of every part of the ad exchange. I think it's about time that they get investigated, but like so far nothing's happened in the US. Maybe the EU will be faster. I don't know. We can hold out hope.
Oh, sorry. I jumped the gun. Audrey.
You know, part of this that jumped out to me is the fact that the European Commission is looking into YouTube and ad buying practices on YouTube. And it's true that publishers and advertisers are obligated to use DV360, Google's DSP, or they can use Google Ads to buy online ads on YouTube. And so in that sense, I think that there's some merit to this investigation looking particularly into Google's ownership over ad buying.
Sarah.
Victoria, can we cue the Blondie music? Because one way or another, they're going to get you.
That's too expensive, Victoria. Please don't. We don't have that
well, I think the thing that's most interesting to me looking at the kind of EU statement on this is the variety of different angles that they're actually investigating, obligation to use, favoring products, restricting third parties' access, the cookie deprecation that we already just talked about, and, you know, the advertising identifier opt-out. So all of these angles of potential market control and kind of using their market dominant position. And I think, you know, it's going to come down one way or another.
As Nina mentioned, across the pond back in the US, not there anymore, Google is facing similar antitrust scrutiny. Last October, the US Justice Department filed antitrust charges against the company, alleging it illegally monopolizes the search and ad markets. And as Nina was saying, very hard to keep track of what's been going on, how many times they've been fined at this point. It's very true. For a short history, Google has already been hit with a series of EU fines in the past 3 years, totaling around $10 billion. 2017, the commission fined Google $2.7 billion over its abuse of power in shopping. 2018, they fined Google $5 billion for its abuse of power over Android. In 2019, the commission fined Google $1.7 billion over the abuse of power in advertising. I'm sure more to come. We move to our final round. Ooh, it's so close. Let's start with...
What's that leaderboard again?
Don't worry about it.
Does it even exist?
Very close.
So,
Why is everyone
Phantom
question the... It may or may not be real or very pretend. It's 12 points each. I don't. That's not even possible if you'd paid attention to how the points work
Scoring
at the beginning.
We have only answered 3 questions so far.
Come on, Johnson. Of all the things you could have said.
We each have like our own plane to ourselves now.
This game's a sham. Anyway, final round. Let's start with Audrey. Movie-going returns. Eric Schwartzel, Wall Street Journal, notes that the new Fast and Furious movie F9, The Fast Saga, collected an estimated $70 million from US theaters. While that opening is only the 6th best, if you can believe it, of the Fast and Furious series so far, it's only good enough for 6th best. It's good enough for the best opening weekend at the box office since December 2019 of all the movies, when Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker came out, if you can remember that far back. Audrey, movie-going returns, question mark, what's the point?
I mean, I also noticed the quote from, I believe, the CEO of AMC, who was saying that they've taken market share from other exhibitor chains. And I thought that was amusing to say, considering that it's not quite the same if you take market share when your competitors have just essentially gone bankrupt.
Yeah.
Or been shut down themselves.
Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, maybe it's too soon to say. I think what's interesting to me is, that some people are registering F9 as kind of a barometer of how moviegoing is going to look in the future. But I don't think that this necessarily means that, studios are going to shift away from the so-called PVOD strategy. I think that, they're going to continue to push out movies wherever they can get distribution. I think that might conflict with some of their relationships with exhibitors, but I think ultimately there's going to be dual distribution in theaters and also on streaming platforms.
Did we need a 9th? Did we need a 7th? Did we need any at all? No, the first one was good, but I feel like you're pushing it when after 8 movies you go, have we got enough content for a 9th? And someone goes, let's make John Cena his brother. And everyone goes, that's brilliant. That's so good. Is that this one? Is this one John Cena? He's the brother? I might have made that up.
I don't think I've ever watched a single one of these movies, to be honest with you.
I watched the first and then
all I noticed in the trailer was that Ludacris was still in it, so.
Thank goodness. Oh, as long as we've got him to carry the franchise. Sarah, what you got for us?
I also have a lot of questions about Charlize Theron's haircut in the trailer, but I don't know if back to normal means back to crappy franchise summer blockbuster vehicles. I don't know if I want to go back to normal.
That's the whole answer. Yes. Nina, finish us off. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the biggest takeaway was how important the China box office is going to be in the future. Like, yeah, it got like a 70 million opening here, but it was like 135 million in China. And I think similar to what Sarah said, like, I think movies will recover. Do I think they'll get back to 2019 levels, at least in the US? No.
It's all about the free popcorn at AMC for all those meme stomp shareholders.
My roommate is one of them. I should go ask her to take me to the movies.
Quick mention, 80% of movie auditoriums have reopened, apparently, in the US, and major cities allowing full capacity seating inside them. In May, 60% of North American theaters had reopened, says ComScore, and by July, New York and California, 2 major movie markets, will be allowing movie theaters to fully reopen. I went for the first time since before this catastrophe of a year and a half, and I went and saw Cruella. It was amazing. So well done. So good.
You saw it instead of going to Disney Plus. You're one of those people.
I'm one of those people, yeah. Well, I'm one of those people who went to the movies, paid all that money, and then got home and realized it was it was on TV. But I am glad I went.
That hybrid release strategy will get you.
Oh, so yeah, it got me good. So would I have gone had I known? Maybe not. But I'm glad I did. It felt very normal. It was socially distanced, so it wasn't like it was packed. It felt good to get out and get to the movies again. Have you guys been? Plans to go? Dying to see F9?
Maybe soon.
F9?
What about no, not F9.
Oh, okay. Oh, whoa. Okay.
Maybe I don't know what I would go back for.
Cruella, come on, it's so good. The music, the soundtrack's brilliant. Costume design, very good, and a very interesting. Cruella's got a very interesting backstory. No, everyone's like, not sold, Johnson.
No comment.
Just maybe I'll watch it on TV like a normal person if I've got some spare time. All right, fair enough. We got some good ones coming out this year. Black Widow, isn't that out soon? What else?
Didn't you hear Sarah's answer about franchise films? I don't know.
What's it called?
Maybe we all like Marvel movies, but I'm not a huge fan of MCU.
MCU?
Yeah, that's what they call it. Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, do they?
I've never heard that.
I've never heard that before.
Oh.
Is that what people call it?
Yeah.
It is. It's the
You've all heard of MCU, but no one's played Yahtzee. What is happening? What? Never mind. Anyway, that's the end of the game. This week's winner, Nina, is this week's winner of the Game of the Week. Congratulations to Nina.
Oh my God, thank you. I don't have anything to say. You should give it to someone else, honestly.
I nearly awarded it to England for winning 2-0.
Congrats, England. That's what I have to say.
Thank you so much. You didn't have to. Wow, that came out of nowhere. Unbelievable that you would just offer up that congratulations. All right, I'll take it. That's time for the Game of the Week. It's time now for Questions Answered. This is the part of the show where we answer the questions that you email into us directly. What we got? Todd. I think he's from LA. But he has a question. Hi, Todd. Thank you for emailing in. About Clubhouse and social audio. He says, or it asks, actually, with Clubhouse now available to Android users, Will the social audio platform return to meaningful growth and prove to be a huge success? Or is social audio just a feature and Clubhouse just a joke? ? So I went straight to our social media principal, Deborah Aho Williamson, who had this to say.
Hi there. Yeah, it's definitely tempting to write off Clubhouse. We did see downloads plummet after that February spike, but recent data from Sensor Tower actually indicates that the introduction of the Android version is helping restart growth. According to Sensor Tower, there were 5.3 million worldwide downloads of Clubhouse in the first 15 days of June, and 4.8 million of those were on Android. That's already well above the 3.8 million total downloads that happened in all of May in both Android and iOS. And May was the first month that the Android app was available. It's worth pointing out that the large majority of these downloads are happening in India right now, and the US seems to be in a bit of a lull, so that's something to pay attention to. So to answer your question, will Clubhouse return to meaningful growth? I think on a worldwide basis, we're definitely seeing that happen. Is social audio just a feature? I think it would be too soon to say. You've got Facebook, Twitter, and Spotify, just all three barely out of the gate with their own versions, and I think we need to give them some time. And finally, you asked, is Clubhouse a joke? I don't think so. I think even if it ends up not succeeding, it's going to spur some new innovation, just the same as how something like a Vine helped spur the idea of short entertaining videos to become popular. And now we've got TikTok and we've got Reels. So thanks very much for your question, and I hope that helped answer it.
Todd, thank you so much for the question. Debbie, thanks as always for answering. For any other questions, email us at podcast@emarketer.com. Or if you want to offer your own congratulations on England winning, the line's open. All right, stop going on about it, Audrey. Enough. Let's move on. It's time now for dinner party data. This is the part of the show where we tell you the most interesting thing that we've learned this week for the sake of it. We start with who won. It's Nina. She won this week's Game of the Week. Nina, what have you learned recently? Tell us.
Okay, I've been sitting on this one for weeks because I read this and I was like, oh my God, I have to bring this to dinner party data.
Okay, huge expectations. They just went through the roof.
So Roblox, Gucci did a campaign for Roblox where I guess they made their purses in the game. Someone just sold one for 350,000 Robux, which is 4,115 real life dollars, which is more than the bag goes for in real life.
Okay, slow down. Roblox.
The NFT effect.
Yeah, literally.
So Roblox is the video game, right?
Yeah, like for, kids.
And you build stuff in it. And apparently they have, is that right? Is that true? I've not played it.
I haven't played it either.
Okay,
You build
it
stuff
looks
in
like
Minecraft.
you would build things. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. There's a thing called Rodollar. What did you call them?
Robux.
Robux. Of course there is. Okay, and this thing sold for 350 of those, which you've explained has an exchange rate of being 4,000 US dollars.
Yeah, 350,000.
And someone bought a
Robux.
handbag.
Yeah. A digital Gucci handbag that you can
To
put on
use
your
in the
little
game.
avatar. Yeah.
Whilst you build stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
What?
NFT effect, indeed.
Oh.
But it only lives in the game?
It only lives in the game.
Wow.
My best mate just told me that someone paid $18,000 for an invisible sculpture.
Oh my
Did you
God.
guys hear about this?
I think so.
You heard
I
about
think I
this?
did hear
Yeah.
about this.
Maybe it was more. It was 18 million, 18,000. I don't know. If it was any
Existed
money,
Whatever it was too much.
Any money is too much for invisible stuff. Oh, okay, interesting. Audrey, what you got for us?
So I'm taking a little bit of a page from Sarah's fact from last week, which I thought was really interesting. So I'm bringing kind of a nature-related fact. I was reading a book on, it's a Michael Pollan book, and if you know him, he's the guy who wrote Botany of Desire. And I read a book that he wrote a couple years ago about using psychedelics to treat mental illness and depression. And I actually found really fascinating all of the stuff he says about mushrooms. So he talks with all of these mushroom experts and does some mushrooms himself. But the part that was most fascinating to me was the fact that, mushrooms are just the fruiting body that we see on the surface of the earth. But in fact, those are emerging from giant mycelial networks underground. And those networks are basically supporting communication between trees and underneath forests. And they can send, they're intelligent. They can send nutrients to parts of forests that need more nutrients, that are starving. And essentially, it's been described as kind of a fungal internet.
Wow. You said you read this in a book.
Yes.
Didn't you just finish one on Bitcoin?
Yes. Well, I read this one slightly before the Bitcoin book, but
okay. I was going to say, how fast did you read it? That was
doing
last
some reading.
week.
It was actually, I highly recommend this book. I mean, even if I don't want to promote use of psychedelics, but I think that this book, it's interesting to me for lots of other reasons too.
Regulatory futures suggest that this is going to be, an exciting new opportunity. So,
yeah.
Oh, all right. Very good. Sarah? Yeah, Sarah's next.
So mine comes from a book as well, which I just finished, and it took me like almost a year to read. Duck's New Report. It's like 1,000 pages. So I'm very proud.
Oh.
But this, I just wanted to shout out to myself for
Is that your
finishing
dinner
this
party data?
enormous book. The
pages.
data point is that according to a 2017 AAA survey, 24 million Americans, which is 11% of US drivers, continue to drive after the low fuel warning light turns on.
Only 11%?
Only?
I'm surprised. I drive with so many people who are like, it's just a suggestion.
I have way too much anxiety for that. I could not.
Oh, me too. It's when these are just friends. These are just friends. I'm a passenger. I'm like, do you want to do something about that? And they're like, we've still got ages. I'm like, do we? And is that a risk you're willing to take? And it is a risk they're willing to take. Yeah.
I've heard you still have like 50 miles on it after that turns up. Am I wrong?
See, you're one of the. See, Nina's
You're
one of those
one of
people.
those
I don't
Nina.
have my license.
Mm-hmm. Nina's like, we've got forever. Oh wow! I would have thought that would have been higher. I know those, and I know all of those 24 million people. They're exclusively the people I hang out with. Oh, it's so stressful. Just fill it up. Why do we have to roll the dice? Very good. That's a good number. All right, I've got two for you real quick. Number one. One Norwegian town wants to become the world's first time-free zone. So between May 18th and July 26th, there are 69 days where the sun doesn't set at all. It's a place called Sormorøy in northern Norway. That's why the village located north of the Arctic Circle wants to eliminate the concept of time so that they can get the most out of their 24 hours, they say. For example, in the middle of the night, quote unquote, say 2 a.m., for example, folks will paint their houses or kids will be playing soccer. The island's residents even went as far as to present a Norwegian member of parliament with a signed petition asking for Sormorøy to become the world's first time-free zone, hosting a town hall about the proposed change in June 2019. So it sounds cool, but how would you tell someone when you'll meet them? Or like, how would you let your kids know when to come home for dinner?
Yeah, I have
they'd be
a lot
gone
of
for days,
questions.
wouldn't they?
Or if you're trying to sleep.
Because the sun doesn't go down. There's no. How do
the trains run?
How do the trains run? I guess no one's ever late for anything, but you just, I don't know how it would work. I spent a lot of time today thinking about this. It's mind blowing. No time. Okay. Good luck, Norway. Not the whole of Norway. Just one village wants to do this. Second thing I've got for you. Humans might be able to hibernate like bears. So humans may also have a similar ability to put ourselves into a deep sleep. When a teenage stowaway survived a flight from California to Hawaii while hidden in the wheel well of an aeroplane in 2014. It's believed that he may have entered a state of hibernation, it's terrifying, due to the freezing temperatures and low oxygen levels whilst in the wheel. Victoria looks like I looked when I read this, yeah. Or how I felt when I read this. Because of the freezing temperatures and low oxygen levels in the wheel, they think he went into hibernation. Now, while that sort of travel should be avoided, there may be other ways to hibernate. Scientific American explains that, quote, figuring out ways to induce humans into a hibernation-like state might make it possible to launch humans into far-flung galaxies, close quote. Have you guys seen that movie, Passengers?
No.
Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, wait, I have.
Oh, man.
Clearly forgotten about it.
Audrey.
Sorry.
First the cat thing and now this. So good. There's a twist. It gets pretty intense. Do you remember it, Audrey?
Yeah, I do, but I don't know
Oh.
if I remember what the twist is.
Watch it. What do you wouldn't even watch?
Well, they
Cruella?
fall in love, right? And then, do they pretend to fall in love? I don't.
What are you doing?
I don't remember.
Spoiler.
Sorry,
You haven't seen it at
it's
all,
not
have you?
Spoiling anything.
Okay, she's not spoiling anything.
I don't
Audrey's
remember the plot
Audrey's
of the film,
clearly
so
not
I'm
saying it
telling
all.
you two opposing options that it could be.
One of those things might happen, yes. Anyway, it's so good. It's such a good film. And it got me thinking, because apparently I do no work at all during the day. What if you could book a pod? So the concept is like people are on a spaceship and they're going to a really far away like paradise, and it takes so long to get there that they have to put you like into an induced sleep, basically like anesthesia, right? They put you to sleep for a certain amount of time, so when you wake up, you've not aged and you get there because it takes like thousands of years or whatever. So I was thinking, what if you could book a pod, like a pod seat on a plane, where they put you to sleep for the whole flight, especially for like long haul stuff. Sarah, you mentioned Singapore. So instead of flying like to Australia and it feeling like the 15-hour non-stop or the 22-hour one-stop or two-stop that it does, it would feel like falling asleep, and then 10 seconds after you sit down, you're waking up in another country.
You can already do that.
As long as there wasn't like a hangover effect or something. Like,
Yeah, as long as it was safe. Wait, what was that, Nina? You were thinking just take some sleeping pills, right?
Yeah, I was like, you can
Right,
already do that.
Right, if there was like a safe way and they like, the same with anesthesia, like they kind of measure it out so
Yeah.
you're going to sleep for exactly the right amount of time. That's the only way I'm going to Australia. There's no other
True.
way. I don't care how beautiful it is. I'll probably go anyway. All right, that's all we've got time for this episode. Thank you so much to England for winning. Enough already. All right, I'm done. I won't talk about it again until next episode. Audrey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you to Nina.
Thank you.
Thank you to Sarah.
happy to be here.
Good things. Nina, congratulations for winning. Victoria, thank you for editing the show. And thank you to everyone for listening. If you guys want us to answer any of your questions or say hi, you can email us at podcast@emarketer.com. We'll see you guys on Monday, hopefully, for the Behind the Numbers Daily, the eMarketer podcast made possible by VTEX. Enjoy your weekends. Oh, it's a long weekend. Enjoy your long weekend. We won't be here Monday. I'm done. I'm talking nonsense. I'll see you Tuesday instead for the Behind the Numbers Daily, also an eMarketer podcast, also made possible by VTEX. Have good, long weekends.